What do you do when you've screwed up completely, made a big mistake, let somebody down, or simply disappointed someone and you're afraid of how that person's going to react? Do you go to them, tell them the truth, confess, and try to make it right? Or do you hide, cover it up, ignore it, and hope that it all goes away? If you're human, you've probably done both. Hi, my name is Terry from Terry's Life Adventures, and today I want to talk to you about running and hiding from God. I believe that most, if not all of us, have some areas that we haven't given completely over to God yet. And so I wanted to talk about those things that we tend to hide from God or tend to ignore. Let's not talk about that section, that area, right? First of all, I want to say that hiding from God is a natural tendency for us as sinners to do. Now, sometimes we have reasons for that, but I want to go back and show you the very first couple, Adam and Eve, and their tendency. See, from the very beginning, what happened when they ate the fruit and their eyes were open to good and evil? What did they do when God came? They ran and they hid because they were afraid, right? Now, if we look back before that, Adam had no reason to be afraid. Neither of them did. There was no indication that God had been upset or angry or even frustrated with Adam before this. In fact, they were hanging out together, spending time together, naming the animals together. They were having a friendship, a father-son relationship. And so there was nothing that had happened to cause Adam to feel that way. Now, a lot of times for us, we know that things from our past cause us to have a tendency to run or to hide things from others because we don't want to get in trouble. I know some of my childhood was so strict and sometimes abusive that I remember breaking a simple plastic mixing spoon and hiding it because I was so afraid to tell my mom that I had broken it. And so I hid it and covered it up and pretended I didn't know where that spoon had gone to. So sometimes we have reasons for believing that God is going to be mad at us. Sometimes we've been taught that God is an angry God and he's waiting to punish us, right? But we see Adam and Eve, their first instinct when their eyes were open to sin was to run and hide, was to feel shame, to feel fear. And so we also have to remember that we have that enemy that will come in and say, oh, God is not going to like that. You let him down. You should have known better. And he's just going to beat us up and try to get us to run the opposite direction. Now, why is that? Let's think about it. If our tendency, if our instinct as sinners is to run away, if the enemy tells us that God isn't going to be happy with us, that he is going to be angry, that we're going to be in trouble, if these are our thoughts and our tendencies, then isn't it safe to say that the opposite is probably true? If we look at Adam and Eve, what happened? They hid until God came and looked for them, until God called them out. And that's what we need. Without God drawing us, we won't go to him unless he draws us and calls us, and we will tend to run. The great thing is if you have a relationship with God, then hopefully you've reached a place where you can go to him. But there are times where God has to go into the deep corners and recesses of our heart and pull on those things and draw us to him so that he can take care of them. And this is why he draws us to him. This is why he said, Adam, where are you in the garden? Because God knew where Adam was, right? God wasn't confused about what had happened. He knew exactly what had happened, but he wanted Adam to realize where Adam was. Adam needed to realize, wait a minute, why am I hiding? Why am I covering up? Why am I ashamed and afraid of God? And so they came out and they admitted, or sort of admitted, and this I think is the cool thing because God helps, God reaches in there, God fixes the issue when they weren't even confessing that they were at fault. I mean, am I right? If we look at it, Adam said, she made me do it. And she said, the devil made me do it. So even so, we see what God does with this very first couple and this very first sin. He fixes the problem. He calls them out, and then he fixes the issue. Is there discipline? Of course there is. He loves us. And when you love somebody, you discipline them. You don't let your child run across the road and get hit by a car because you love them. You spank them. You teach them not to do that because you love them. And so, yes, there is a discipline. There is a learning curve, but we see God fix the issue. He fixes it short term and he fixes it long term. Short term in that he does the very first sacrifice to provide animal skins to cover their nakedness, to cover up their shame so that they could be out and not be afraid, right? So he does a sacrifice to fix the immediate problem, to help them, to draw them closer to him. And then he fixes the problem completely in the final sacrifice of sending his son, Jesus Christ, to die for us, which covered ultimately all sins for all believers forever. That's the kind of God that we serve. Not a God waiting to punish you and kill you and do horrendous things to you, but a God waiting for you to run to him. A God calling you to run to him, drawing you near him because he wants to fix the problem. Our outcome, the Bible says that his plans for us is a future and a hope, right? A good thing, not a bad thing. And that God works all things out for the good of those who trust in him, who are called according to his purpose. So he'll work those things out for your purpose, according to your future and what he wants for you. So I just encourage you to run to God. If you feel him drawing you, feel him kind of starting to reach into some of those areas, or if you just know him well enough, run to him, confess it to him, allow him to take that from you, to relieve you of the shame and the guilt, because God is never the one that wants to make you feel guilty or ashamed of what you've done. He wants to fix the problem. He wants to draw you closer to him. He wants you to trust in him. So I just encourage you, again, anything that you are struggling with, give it to God. He can handle it. He can take it. And I just want to encourage you, I've said that plenty of times now. If this video has encouraged you at all, smash that like button, subscribe so that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Check out the past ones. They're on the channel on YouTube, Terry's Life Adventure, and I will see you again soon. Bye.